So long-term care insurance is not really the plan. Long-term care insurance pays for the plan.
Long-term care insurance is a funding vehicle for getting care when you're older.
It's going to provide a dedicated source of funds with tax-free monthly income to help pay for care costs that are generally not covered by medical insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid.
We don't know exactly when we're going to need it or how we're going to need it.
Long-term care insurance covers unskilled and skilled care. What are these things? Well, unskilled care is non-medical assistance with activities of daily living.
I think of the first 30 minutes of our morning. We're able to transfer out of our bed. We're able to go to the commode. We're able to clean ourselves off. We're able to get in the shower. We're able to get dressed. We're able to go to the kitchen and feed ourselves some nutrition. Those things that we do every day that we just simply take for granted, that we are on autopilot, and then all of a sudden something happens and we need assistance physically, or it could be a cognitive impairment.
And so it allows you to pay a smaller amount when you're younger to have a larger amount of protection when you're older, and you may need more, you're more likely to need care.
People who should consider long-term care insurance are going to be those who have a family, good predictable income, and assets to protect.
So I'd say those that should be buying insurance typically are people that have their retirement plans in place in terms of being financially solvent to do that, and probably about 25% of the population that needs to protect assets at older ages.
And extended health care is the biggest threat to any retirement portfolio out there. So by purchasing a long-term care strategy, a policy helps to pay for that plan.
When should you actually try to buy a policy? The younger and healthier you are, the more options you're going to have and the less expensive it's going to be.
There's two main things that prevent you from getting long-term care insurance. One is your health. So you have the most options available to you when you're in your best health. And also when you buy younger, you typically can get the best rates and the best value in the products in terms of how much insurance protection you get at older ages.
People start getting in their 60s, they start having health issues. The premiums start getting a lot more expensive. So we're getting the most inquiries for people in their 50s. And honestly, that's probably the most ideal time to start putting together a strategy.
There's no set rule of who shouldn't buy it, but generally, if you don't have good predictable income or some assets like a home and a nest egg or both to protect, and you don't have a family to protect, then long-term care insurance probably isn't the best option for you.
It never makes sense to buy insurance in this type of field and then to drop it. And very few people actually drop their policies in practice.
Keep in mind, you have to be healthy enough to qualify for it. So you might not qualify if you're not healthy enough.
If you're unable to qualify due to health, there are a variety of alternative insurance solutions out there. So I would say pursue insurance, even if you're not sure if you can get access to it based on your health, because you may be surprised at what you can be offered.
People that have simply financially, they don't have a lot of assets or resources, and it will not take a lot of time before they spend out and qualify for Medicaid. And Medicaid is a safety net for those people.
There are two main types of long-term care insurance policies, with a few others as well. The first one is a traditional policy. This is pure insurance.
It's basically a pool of money that's going to pay when the doctor certifies, when your doctor certifies that you need care physically or cognitively.
Think of it like your home or auto insurance. There's no added benefit if you don't need care. It's typically the best bang for your buck and the most affordable way to get coverage.
And you can use it for home care, community care, facility care in the event that you have a need physically, cognitively.
The second type of policy is a hybrid policy, also called linked benefit or even asset-based. And what this does is it combines long-term care insurance with an added benefit.
So now we're guaranteed a pool of money for long-term care that works like a traditional policy. But if you don't use it, there is a guaranteed death benefit if you don't use it.
There are what are called short-term care products available in many states, which are obviously a shorter duration of coverage.
Today, we also have annuities with long-term care riders, so we can really leverage the dollars that they're using and get a much bigger payout for an extended healthcare event.
There are actually home care plans. Now, this is not technically insurance, but it's more of a service plan. So what you do in this case is you're buying hours of service 1,000 hours all the way up to 10,000 lifetime hours of care. And it's a great way to get coverage, particularly if you're very unhealthy, but you know you absolutely want to stay in your home and receive care in your home.
There's probably 7 different types of products that our community of long-term care specialists utilizes today. And therefore, there is a lot more customization and flexibility depending on your unique circumstances.
Why don't people know about long-term care insurance? And the reality is nobody really wants to talk about this topic until it happens to them. It's kind of like until, you're dealt in the trenches and you actually have to come face to face with this issue. Otherwise, nobody really wants to accept the reality that this event could happen to them. So they just simply don't deal with it until they're now forced to deal with it.
I think it's an education problem. Long-term care insurance hasn't been heavily marketed and advertised like other insurance products like life insurance, disability insurance, and this really needs to change.
There's a lot of misconceptions about long-term care insurance, and obviously planning in advance, planning when you're younger for an event that might not happen for a long period of time. That's sometimes tough for people to get their arms around.
My industry, and I'm speaking of carriers, advisors, and even agents and the government, need to do a better job educating the American public on private options so that every person has a plan for long-term care or extended care needs.
But I would say that the biggest reason is people think it's too expensive. And in fact, there are quite affordable plans out there, especially for those that are proactive in their planning. So long-term care typically costs on average about $300 a month per person to get, I'll say, an average level of coverage that's going to cover a portion of the cost of care. But I've seen people buying plans that cover a foundational amount of protection for as little as $50 or $100 a month. And I've seen people that they get tremendous good value from the products. They might cover the full risk and they might pay a lot more, like $500 to $1,000 a month.
Number one, it's going to depend on which state you live in. And I'm not just referring to the actual premiums, but cost of care varies dramatically across our country. Cost of care is, $10, $12, $15, $16,000 a month. So typically people need the insurance to pay more because the reality is the cost of care is more than you go inside the Midwest and you might get by with $7,000 or $8,000 a month. So people typically don't have to buy as much coverage because the reality is the cost of care is not so much.
The bottom line is having a plan for long-term care is so important. So we want to discuss with our families who's going to provide care, where you want to receive care, how you will pay for that care, and a long-term care insurance policy helps to fund that plan.
Check out ZNest's entire library of informative videos on senior care.